el Día de la Mujer. Les decía que desde aquí también felicitar a todas ellas que están presentes en un mundo generalmente de hombres, como es el mundo de finanzas, y también impulsar, ¿no?, a todas aquellas que nos vean a que se atrevan con este reto, ¿no?, de entrar en el mundo de las finanzas, que es apasionante, desde luego. Y bueno, precisamente vamos a hablar de diversidad, de inclusión, de igualdad, y lo vamos a hacer con AllianceBernstein, porque tienen una cartera llamada el AllianceBernstein Diversity Champions Equity, y vamos a hablar precisamente con uno de sus portfolio managers, con Gayle Baldwin. Gayle, good afternoon. Thank you so much for this interview to Negocios Televisión.
Good afternoon. It's great to be here.
Gayle, how did the idea for this portfolio come about, and what was the main impetus?
Yes, so diversity, equity, and inclusion have always been personally important to me during my 15 years as an investor. But at AllianceBernstein, in addition to recruiting and mentoring our junior talent, supporting their success and growth, I've also been thinking as an investor about the human capital practices of the companies I was investing in. And I realized there are companies strategically deploying equity and inclusion practices to leverage the potential of their talent base and deliver strong results for investors. But human capital can't be found on the balance sheet. And so it's a competitive advantage that isn't well understood or valued by the market. And really, DE&I is human capital management fundamentally, and it's creating an environment where employees choose to build careers for the long term. And it requires a culture at companies where different people and different ideas are welcomed and employees are able to be themselves. So ultimately, you see that through greater longevity of employment, greater productivity, and that's a compounding benefit for companies. And it doesn't mean lowering the bar for hiring. That's really important. And I think during COVID, it brought it to the forefront even more. Companies in this really stressful economic environment made different decisions about managing their workforces for the short or the long term. And that was an impetus for us at AB to work on a framework to evaluate diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to link it to financial materiality, to outcomes for shareholders. And the reality in the US is that, and in many other countries, is that demographics are also changing, and the future adult population is much more diverse than today's working age population. So companies need to learn how to prosper with the workers out there. But most companies are failing to capture the benefits of DEI. So we developed this thematic, concentrated global strategy underpinned by a framework we developed in-house.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned DE and I, diversity, equity, and inclusion. How do you evaluate this criteria at companies?
Yes, so we believe that for it to matter, for there to be importantly positive outcomes, organizations need to be focused on DE and I throughout the whole ecosystem of human capital. It's not enough to look at high-level statistics, diversity statistics such as board or workforce composition. There's important intangibles that can't be easily measured, and so it needs to be more holistic. And so we developed a 6-dimension DEI assessment we call the HEX assessment, looking at all of the company's operations and initiatives around human capital. We rate each company on a relative basis on each of the 6 dimensions. We assess them based on how they define diversity as relevant to their business, how they identify and attract diverse talent to the firms, how they develop, grow, and retain the talent that they hire, and how these practices connect to a better culture and ultimately the company's financial and fundamental outcomes via productivity and innovation. We love practices like broadening the talent pipeline via partnerships, debiasing the interview process, assessing candidates based on skills instead of specific degrees or work experience. We like linking management compensation programs to employee engagement or lowering attrition. And ultimately, our selection process is very stringent. We require a company to rate above peers on every one of our 6 dimensions to be eligible for inclusion in the portfolio.
Mm-hmm. Gayle, what do you mean by links to productivity and innovation? Could you provide some examples?
Absolutely. We assess companies based on their ability to leverage the diversity of their workforce and deliver better business outcomes. That's really important to us in ensuring that DEI programs are material for companies. And studies show that diverse teams perform better For example, measures of collective intelligence are better predictors of a group's success in problem solving than the individual IQs of the team members. But we're looking for more specificity than that. We require these clear ties between the intentionality of the human capital ecosystem and the fundamental outcomes. So in a more concrete sense, this could look like a pharmaceutical company leveraging insights from its employees with certain health conditions in its product development process to produce better drugs, or a snacks company that fosters an inclusive culture, encouraging all employees to speak up about product and marketing ideas, and having internal systems to elevate the best of those ideas and unlock overlooked consumer markets. Or a software company competing on ease of use of its products and then leveraging its employees and their different experiences to design platforms that gain market share because they've been tested with employees with a range of tech abilities or even color blindness. Or one of my favorite examples in retail, a company that really shines in talent development and benefits because of having a clear, transparent career progression ladder, with the majority of corporate executives, over 90% coming up through its retail stores, and an ability to pay at a 50% premium to peers because of higher employee satisfaction, leading to higher retention and productivity, which feeds the flywheel and enables those higher wages and a competitive low-cost model.
Gayle Baldwin, Portfolio Manager at AllianceBernstein Diversity Champions Equity Portfolio. It's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bueno, pues Gayle Baldwin nos explicaba cuáles son los métodos de inversión que utilizan en este fondo, en este portfolio, en esta cartera de campeones de la diversidad. Desde aquí nos despedimos, pero brevemente, ya saben que a las 5 estamos de vuelta y enseguida en Negocios Televisión comienza ya Todo es Geopolítica con Sergio Fernández.